The Amazon tornado deaths were not the result of a natural disaster, but preventable tragedies that highlight corporate greed and illustrate why young people's support for unions is at a generational high. I'm Yoonj Kim, and this is MTV News Need to Know. On Friday, a string of tornadoes reduced an Amazon warehouse in Edwardsville, Illinois to rubble and killed at least 6 employees. Extremely unusual for this time of year, the combined severe storms killed at least 90 people total across 6 states, with searches still underway. And while the tornado itself wasn't preventable, the deaths at the warehouse may have been if there were better worker protections. Witnesses told Reuters that the weather caught workers by surprise and that they were forced to take shelter anywhere they could find. But the facility, which was built in 2020, doesn't have a basement, even though it's located in an area where tornadoes frequently hit. And according to text messages from victims to their families, Amazon wasn't letting workers leave until after the storm blew over. And while the rubble was being searched for bodies, Amazon executive chairman and founder and second richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, was in Texas congratulating the passengers of his company's Citizen space flight. And while Bezos is no longer Amazon's CEO and doesn't oversee its day-to-day operations, he didn't stop to respond to the deaths until later in the day. Political activist Raphael Shimunov tweeted, "I can and can't believe Amazon CEO officially said thoughts and prayers to the 6 dead Amazon workers and countless still missing, while Jeff Bezos kept posting happy astronaut photos without pause." This wasn't the first time employees died at Amazon facilities. In fact, the company was voted most dangerous place to work in 2019, and these tragedies have brought Amazon's dangerous no phone policy into the spotlight. Even though the company eased up a bit during the pandemic, workers are not allowed to have their cell phones on them in order to increase productivity, meaning they miss important weather alerts. And some blame this phone policy for Friday's deaths, though a few victims reportedly did have their phones on them. Others say union busting is taking autonomy away from workers, as Amazon recently committed serious violations using union intimidation tactics in Alabama. But one thing is clear. This tragedy fuels the ongoing mistrust between workers and executives in a culture where corporate greed favors productivity over workers' lives. One Illinois Amazon worker told Bloomberg, "After these deaths, there is no way in hell I'm relying on Amazon to keep me safe." And of all the people working at the Edwardsville plant, only 7 were full-time employees. The rest of the 190 people were contractors, mostly in their 20s, picking up work before the holidays, which means most were making an hourly wage with no benefits and no leverage to demand better working conditions. The Mayfield Candle Factory in Kentucky was also hit by the tornado, killing at least 8 employees as they worked around the clock to keep up with the Christmas-time demand from retailers like Bath & Body Works. This type of corporate greed, exacerbated by dangers from the pandemic, has caused a labor rights wave all over the country. There have been nearly 300 strikes in 2021, happening everywhere from film and TV sets to healthcare facilities, all the way to John Deere factories. And even though unions represent only 10.8% of American workers today, down from 20% 4 decades ago, a large majority of Americans support labor unions. It's the highest level since 1965, signaling a generational shift in the priorities of young people. And as nurse Nick Eng told The Intercept about this year's strike wave, "We may work in different industries, but when people tell their stories, they're all very similar. People who control the capital of the companies, most, if not who all, make 7, 8, maybe even sometimes 9-figure salaries, they're telling their workers that they get too much." In fact, at Kellogg's, where employees behind Pop-Tarts and Fruit Loops have been on strike for over 2 months, the CEO got a $11 million salary in 2020, and executives are resisting giving employees retirement benefits or equal pay. And as the wealth gap in our country has never been higher, statistics show that Gen Zers are hyper-aware of and over capitalist exploitation like this. And not only are they choosing not to pursue corporate ladder climbing, but they're also getting creative and showing their strength. Last week, when Kellogg's began replacing its 1,400 striking workers with new employees, a move even President Biden criticized, millennials and Gen Zers flooded the job postings with fake applications and crashed the system in solidarity. And while this is an inspiring move, we need formal policies to ensure people can work and make a safe, dignified living. Currently, the PRO Act is being considered by the Senate, which would make it easier for both employees and gig workers to unionize and fight exploitation. And protecting labor rights is the bare minimum for overcoming wealth inequality. In a world where billionaire execs can evade paying income taxes as underpaid workers die, making their businesses lucrative. I'm Yoon Kim, and that's what you need to know.